What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday once again, and holy shit, do we have a busy podcast and a stream tonight. Kind of a big news day in WWE land, and we just wrapped up the go-home show to the Royal Rumble, the go-home Raw, I should say, to the Royal Rumble, with lots of news coming out of that, including the return of the Rated R superstar Edge at the Royal Rumble, declared himself for the Rumble in an interview or pre-taped promo that was really good. Happy to see Edge back. A really interesting women's title match to close out the show. Goldberg and Drew McIntyre confrontation in the beginning, and some huge news regarding the WWE Network that broke very early this morning that everybody's been talking about today. So we're going to get into all of that, and it should be juicy, to say the least. What's going on to everybody in the chat here waiting already? Thank you for being here, and thanks for joining us tonight. Third day in a row of streaming. Last night was a lot of fun. We did a watch-along of the 2002 Royal Rumble. You can check that out on demand right now on the YouTube channel, and that was fun. I want to try to do watch-alongs as often as possible, maybe on Sunday nights during weeks that there's not pay-per-views, to come up and watch a classic show or review or something like that. It's 2 weeks in a row now we've done it with the Royal Rumble 02 and 05, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks to everybody that was here last night for that. And we'll be doing more of those in the future. And I've got a big video, a review coming courtesy of Barry this week that my plan is to drop Wednesday. It's 90% Wednesday, 10% Thursday. But I look for it Wednesday morning. It's going to be a review of the WWE Draft Lottery from Raw, March 22nd, 2004. And we're going to look at that entire Monday Night Raw show. That was the Eddie Guerrero Triple H main event match, and the big draft lottery, and the return of Edge, speak of the devil, and all of that stuff. So that's going to be a Patreon sponsor review coming Wednesday. So keep a lookout for that as well. And then we've got the Royal Rumble weekend coming up, predictions on Saturday, and then I'll be live reacting to the Royal Rumble pay-per-view on Sunday night. So we'll try to stay up after that and do a little mini review as well. But since the Royal Rumble is such a fun pay-per-view, and you get a different entrant every couple of minutes, it's a fun pay-per-view to react to, and I haven't done a live reaction on a live pay-per-view since last Royal Rumble. So it's going to be a busy week here on the channel, and I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, that gets the pleasantries out of the way. Let me say hi to everybody here in the chat, and then knock out the super chats, and then we'll start getting into what we're going to talk about tonight. I guess we're going to open up, though, and talk about the WWE Network news moving over to Peacock. We'll discuss all of that first and the implications of that and what it's going to mean for all of us current WWE Network subscribers, and how much money WWE is making from this nonsense and all that stuff. So we'll be getting into that first. Then we'll talk about Monday Night Raw. Then we'll kind of give a quick rundown and preview of the Royal Rumble, and then that's going to be it. We'll be up here on Saturday for my full prediction. So it's crunch time now for the Rumble. But what's going on? James and Sunny Man and Kevin and Mr. E and Ryan, and how Wheezy is in the house. Good to see you as well. Sex Machine is here. That makes two of us. Dre, the funny sis. Deshaun Robinson, what's going on, man? Good to see you as well. Lance, the fifth guy. Barry MK with a $2 super chat. RIP WWE Network 2014 to 2021. It really did last like 7 years almost to the day. It's going to wrap up in March, and it debuted in February of 2014. I still remember subscribing on day one. I've been a proud subscriber ever since, and it has been well worth my $10. And we'll talk about the prices and how all that's going to change later on as well. At least how I understand it, based on what we've read. Even though there's still a lot of details to come out. Appreciate the $2 from you out of Deshaun Robinson. And yes, Alexa did sell the crap out of that RKO. You know, I was really confused on that main event. I'm like, I can't see Alexa really. I could see Alexa winning the title, but maybe not on Raw. I thought that would be on a pay-per-view. So we figured Randy Orton would have to get some revenge here because, you know, otherwise, what do you do? I'm thinking Alexa has declared for the Royal Rumble, but part of me thinks she'll get another match against Asuka, because now what does Asuka do at the Royal Rumble? You mean to tell me on a pay-per-view that has 30-plus women booked on it, Asuka's off the card? Who's she going to wrestle? We always have a women's title match, Raw women's title match at Royal Rumbles, or at least we have in the past few years. So what the hell is Asuka going to do? Just sit there and do nothing? Join in on commentary? She's got to do something. So I think maybe they might yank Alexa from the Rumble and put her against Asuka again. Otherwise, I suppose Asuka's off the show. We'll talk about that, though, as we get to the main event later on. And that catches it up for the Super Dupers, at least for the moment. We're good to go. Notorious Media, good to see you, man. Rod McMahon, or I'm sorry, Chris Morin and Michael Kumo are also here. Lori, good to see you. Stone Cold is here. Isaiah, Sonic Players 64. JJ Leg is back. Yeah, you're excited for it to go to Peacock. I am personally. All that content plus all non-WWE stuff for $5.99. Hell yeah. See, that's the thing that when I saw this, I stay up all night. So I was awake at 5 o'clock this morning. So I saw this news come in very, very early. And I tweeted about it, and I'm like, son of a bitch, this seems like it's going to be a big pain in the ass. Here, I've just started to get into these watch-alongs on the channel, and everybody can follow along on the network. And now we have some new platform to worry about, but that's just me being an old man. If it's probably for the better in the long term when you think about it from a customer perspective, you know, in terms of the streaming and the network capabilities and things like that. I just don't watch hardly any TV anymore, so I don't know. I don't have Hulu. I don't have Disney Plus that I hear everybody talking about. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't really subscribe to anything except just a streaming service that gives me all the basic cable channels, your ESPNs and your MTVs and shit like that, and USA Networks and TNTs, of course. And then other than that, it's just Netflix, it's YouTube Premium that I pay, and then the network, and that's kind of it. So in terms of all of these other ones, and I think I have HBO Max tied in to my plan as well, but I don't really have any other streaming services. So this Peacock thing, I don't know what the fuck it is. So apparently it's all of NBC's shows, and they are going to be now supplying WWE Network content on there as well. So when you join, you also get access to all of that too, included in the price. So as we're going to talk about here in a minute, that could turn out to be a good thing in the long run. So I will try to be optimistic about this change, and hopefully it will actually be better once we, you know, just get used to the transition. But if I can just stop being a little old man bitch about it, it's probably going to be all right. But we'll be talking about it here in a minute. Got my Broken Skull IPA open again. Going to drink another one of these tonight. Yeah, and a lot of people, that's what I've said, Victor. A lot of people have been chiming into me on Twitter today as well, talking about how it's a good deal, and that's what we'll discuss here. So why don't we open up with that? And like I said, it was announced this morning that WWE has struck a deal with NBCU's Peacock to supply all of WWE Network programming. This is a 5-year deal worth $200 million per year. Get your calculators out, boys and girls. What does that add up to? $1 billion. And this is the third billion-dollar deal this company has struck now in the past few years, getting it from Fox and NBC, and now this one, and God knows what they were getting from Saudi Arabia. So they are literally falling ass backwards into money. Money is flying at their faces, and they can't even get out of the way in time. That's how much money is coming to them. And every time you read something like this, it just makes your blood boil even further that WWE took away and took control of the talent's side hustles, you know, the Twitch and the cameos and everything that their talent was doing on third parties. They are now taking a cut of that when this fucking company is bringing in billions and billions, $3 billion. They're letting everybody go during COVID, and they're like, oh, you can't make money on Twitch. So-and-so percent of that is ours now. Like, this is crazy to me. Even makes you even more mad. And just, it's so despicable, you know, Vince McMahon and the whole group of them, you know, because when when a company is, you know, publicly traded like this and you have stockholders, and the number one goal among anything else, among quality of your product or safety of your workers or, you know, or anything like that, profits come first. So with WWE making this kind of money, it doesn't really instill a whole lot of confidence in me that WWE is going to do anything, or even gives a rat's ass that their booking is shit, that every single Monday Night Raw feels the same, that aside from a few hits here and there, overall, it is very, very difficult to watch this programming for as many hours as a YouTuber like me is required to for doing these reviews. And it doesn't make me, they obviously, if they're making in this kind of money, that's what they're trying to do. I mean, imagine if they put that much energy into making money as they do, or that much into booking and creative as they do into making money. And I think that they're never really going to truly feel like that's a priority anymore when the company is pulling in this kind of dollars and making these kind of profits. It's almost disgusting. They're making so much money that they don't honestly fucking deserve. So anyway, it's a big deal for WWE, and it really solidifies them as a major player. And it just goes to show you how miles and miles and miles ahead of other promotions like AEW. Even AEW has a millionaire behind it, you know, or a billionaire even. They're nowhere near, you know, WWE has established themselves as a big time player and a major brand. And, you know, with all these deals and all this money, it's insane. So this is going to be good for them. And we've been hearing rumors about this for a long time. There was always talk about Disney buying WWE entirely, or WWE programming winding up on another streaming or another streaming or OTT app or something like that. We've been talking about that for a long time. So this shouldn't come as a surprise that it went down, but it's just like, wow, when you just read the details of it, it's like, holy shit. So here is my understanding of it, and I could be wrong. Like I said, there's a lot of details to still come out. They're going to be moving over to Peacock in March, so this will be prior to WrestleMania. I believe the date was March 18th. I think that's what they said. And then that's when it's going to be officially over on the Peacock network. So the way it seems like it's going to happen, at least from what I read and what I could tell, that if you're an existing WWE Network customer, you're going to be transferred over to automatically to like the $4.99 tier of Peacock. Now you can do an ad-free version for an extra $5, which will total your $9.99 that you get on the network. So if you don't care about watching ads, I hate ads more than I hate anything else in this world. I will pay $100 a month if I don't have to watch ads. So I will always pay the price to not watch ads. But if you don't care about ads, you now have shaved your network price in half. And for that price, you get everything you would have gotten for the network, plus all the shit that's on Peacock already with the NBC programming and whatnot, which could include anything. I don't even know what's on there, but I would assume it's a whole bunch of shit. So that's a good deal. And in the long run, this should benefit the customers. And I'm glad that WWE didn't make a deal here that was going to force them to up the price of the network or make it more difficult or make us add another tier on top of the already $9.99 that we pay. And like I've said a million times, I think the WWE Network is a fantastic deal. I've loved it. I've had very few issues with it over the years, never had buffering or streaming issues, or it's not set up quite the way I would want. I think it has some flaws, but overall, not only it's worth way more than the $9.99. So I've always said ever since it started in 2014 that if WWE chose to raise the price, I'd still pay it. It would take a lot for me to say, okay, that's a little bit ridiculous. Don't tell WWE this, but I'd still be willing to pay $20, maybe even $25 for what they were offering. So it was always a good deal to me. And now that they're moving it over to something that's not going to force the customers to pay anymore, because people really don't like that. And WWE was able to pull this deal, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. So I'm hoping that, WWE and Vince, it's not like them to kind of concede some control. And I wonder how much control Peacock is going to have over what kind of content. They're saying that it's going to be all the pay-per-views from ECW and WCW, but are some of those hardcore, crazy, bloody ECW shows really going to be on here? I suppose they are, but it seems like it might be a more family-friendly type of streaming app there, to where a little kid can come across the WWE section of this and go look up Beulah and Bill Alfonso beating the shit out of each other and having a bloodbath or something. I don't know. But stuff like that makes me curious, like how that's all gonna go down. But they're supposed to provide us with the details on what to do here soon. And like I said, I'm pretty bad with like technology and stuff. You'd be pretty proud of me. I actually bought a game capture card, and I've been figuring out a way to get my retro game streaming set up, and I've actually done it. So I'm not that dumb. But when it comes to a lot of these streaming apps and stuff, I'm sure it's going to be a piece of cake to do it. But it's it's going to be interesting how it's going to look. It's probably going to have a completely different look and feel to it, and how you navigate it and things like that. So, all in all, it's a big deal for WWE, but it's also a pretty big reminder that WWE is probably never going to work too hard to improve anything in terms of storyline or the creative aspect of their product. And the talent, that's had a lot of their income taken away from this company, that were able to make a little bit of extra money on the side. WWE's now taking a cut of that too, and now they get another $1 billion from, another big company. How much money do they need? Jesus Christ. So it's crazy. And Victor Colon with the $2 says that Xfinity customers get Peacock Premium for free, and I do think Peacock comes with a few others. I've heard some Comcast or Cox Cable or something like that also comes with it. Like with my package, I use AT&T Now. It's like a streaming app that I have tied into with my phone because I have AT&T for my phone. And with that, I get HBO Max. I don't really use it, but it's there if I want it. And then I have a streaming app that gives me all of the, your basic, everyday cable channels with about 20 hours of DVR time. And it's like $30. It's like Sling, basically, but it's cheap and it's easy. And I think it comes with that. But I don't believe I have the Peacock on there. So I'm going to have to sign up for Peacock. And hopefully it's kind of a seamless transition and transfer. That's what I'm hoping for from a customer perspective, is that it doesn't fuck anything up for us or make WrestleMania any more difficult to watch. And I'm assuming all the same rules will apply here. that the big pay-per-views will be available here. I don't think it means that we have to buy these on pay-per-view now. This should continue the way it is. And really, at the end of the day, nothing much should change for us. It actually just might get a little bit better. We're just got to change where we watch it now. So we'll see. And that's a deal that's going to be up in 5 years. So, WWE's either going to have to extend this or go find somewhere else to go. And this could be an ever-changing type of deal. They might re-sign for another 5 years with Peacock after this. And then after that, go somewhere else. I mean, I don't know. So it's interesting how much money is out there to be made for such a shithead company like this. But good for them. WWE is in control. Oh, Comcast is Infinity? Yeah, I don't know. I only had one choice where I live. I had to get Spectrum, but I only use Spectrum for internet. That's it. I don't use them for TV or anything. Because like I said, I have the AT&T streaming app. But with Spectrum, I don't think it gives me anything too special or anything like that, but I just use it for internet. And so far, Spectrum's been awesome. I've had very few internet issues. I got really good, strong internet, and they juiced me up. So far, so good. I've been a 3-month Spectrum customer after a lot of years with AT&T. Yeah, and I didn't know Vince's brother passed away. I had no idea. When did that break? When did that news come out? Was not aware. Oh, that's a shame, man. I heard that Vince was recently not at SmackDown. I wonder if he was dealing with this. Yeah, you don't hear much about Vince's brother. He passed away on January 20th, which is why I guess Vince wouldn't have been at SmackDown on Friday. That explains that. Huh. Cause of death is unknown. I'm reading the Fightful article here. Native of Long Island, New York, residing in Willis, Texas at the time of his death. Huh. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know Vince had another brother out there. I mean, he was pretty absent from the wrestling business and never brought up at all by the McMahons on TV or anything like that. Yeah. Oh, bummer. No condolences to the McMahons. I had no idea. Missed that story completely. Probably just missed. Oh, it just happened just now. It's probably because I've been getting ready for the stream here, finishing up my notes. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's always been interesting for SmackDown being on Fox because, WWE, NBC Universal owns USA. So they were already under the NBC umbrella as it was. They were under the NBC umbrella and the Fox umbrella. And they got both of those deals at the same time from NBC and Fox, extending the USA and all that and making the deal with Fox at the same time. And they got two huge deals like that. So now they've got another one. They're pulling in 1.5 or now 2 or something like that in total from NBC. That is just absolutely ridiculous. Man, oh man. Anyway, for those of you who are here, if you don't mind, could you smash the like button for me and hook me up? Try to get those things climbing. I'd appreciate it. We'll start getting to the Raw results here as well. But anyway, that's kind of the latest there on the network moving to Peacock. Like I said, it's going to be taking place in March. We'll get further details on what to do in terms of transferring our existing networks and stuff. Oh, and I should say, I don't know if I made this clear as we've been talking about it. This is just here in the States, just the United States only. So if you're in England or Australia or somewhere else listening to me right now, this does not affect you at all. So don't even worry about it. And I should have mentioned that right up front. I forgot to say that. So either way, that's a huge, huge, huge deal. Yeah, and Fox is owned by Disney. They got money fucking everywhere, man. Everybody owns everything. What's going on, Stephen Harris? And Sonny, and Ryan, and New One, and Mary. And Barry. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, Barry, I'm sure his name has been mentioned. He's never been talked about. You miss it unless you are crazy and know every little detail like you do. I had a DM Barry, because he's the one doing the sponsored video for this week, the Raw review. And I had a question about what happened after, and I DM'd you, and you're like, oh yeah, here's what happened. Here's how they did it. So thanks for always filling me in on that shit. But anyway, let's get into Monday Night Raw now, because there's a lot to take in here too, with some big news kind of breaking near the end of the show. What are your letter grades, A, B, C, or D, or number grades 1 through 10 of this show? There was some times that this show made me pounding my head on the desk because it was such your typical annoying fucking Raw, but there was other parts of the show that wasn't that bad at all. And so I don't know what to make of it. I'm probably going to go C or C plus or some shit like that, I suppose. Maybe some of you will give it higher. I don't know. But The show opened up with Drew McIntyre making his way to the ring. This is the first time we've seen Drew McIntyre since he's been off TV quarantining due to his positive COVID test. And they had advertised a face-to-face confrontation with him and Goldberg tonight. And it was going to be their, first time to get a chance to see each other since the first shove down. And now we got the matchup this Sunday. So Drew comes out, and this was cool. He comes down, he gets in the ring, he thanks the fans for all the support, and he was open, and he talked about COVID. He talked about his symptoms. He talked about his recovery. He talked about how he felt, and he talked about how we all need to take this thing seriously and work together to get on the other side of this awful disease. And I kind of liked the message that he sent there. So that was very cool. The WWE allowed him to say that. Also goes on to say that he's 100% now, and he's ready to rock, and he's ready to take on Goldberg this Sunday. That's when The Miz and Morrison interrupt him. The Miz, of course, has got his little green briefcase, and they start talking some smack. And this was actually pretty funny. They get up on the apron, and they're talking shit to McIntyre, and that's when Goldberg's music hits. Goldberg comes out with a whole big entrance and everything, and he gets in the ring, and you got this stare down with Drew, and then you got The Miz is on the outside of the ring on the ring apron looking into the ring, and his face is like right in between him. Such a classic shot. You don't always have to hate The Miz. Sometimes he can be pretty great. And Miz and Morrison are like egging the two of them on. Like Goldberg said some shit to Drew, and they're like, "Oh, you gonna let him say that to you?" and everything. So that actually got a big chuckle out of me. They wound up beating the shit out of both of them. Drew and Goldberg attacked Miz and Morrison together, got him in the ring. One got hit with a claymore, the other got hit with a spear, and the two of them came down and had like a stare down in the middle of the ring, and that was your setup for the Royal Rumble. Now, we've been talking about the Goldberg and Drew McIntyre match and how fucking nervous we all are about it, because as they brought up on Raw tonight, and as we've talked about in previous episodes, Goldberg, when he goes into the ring to face the champion, he fucking wins, man. So he's already done this twice, beating Owens, beating The Fiend, and now he's going in there to face Drew McIntyre. And like I said last year, there was no way in hell that he was going to beat The Fiend. That would be the dumbest thing WWE ever did. And then they did it. So for me to say there's no way Goldberg's going to beat Drew would be silly, because WWE's already proven that they will do that. They do not give a shit. So I don't know what's going to happen at the Royal Rumble. The one thing, though, that's giving me a slight amount of comfort is The Miz. He's actually the wild card in this thing. Now, I think it would be silly for The Miz to do what he did last time and cash in and make the match a triple threat. He'd be better off waiting until the match is over and attacking from behind with a foreign object, injuring the new champion, then cashing in and then just pinning him. But if he were to come out and make it a triple threat, he could take the pin. And so I'm hoping that green Money in the Bank briefcase is the Miz is going to take the pin briefcase, because that would be a way to do whatever you have to do without beating either guy. I want Goldberg to get claymored and pinned. That's what I want. But I don't think WWE is going to do that. They're going to protect him and all that nonsense. So if they're going to keep the belt on Drew, which I think they should, I think he should go in to the Royal Rumble as champion, then The Miz could come in, screw this up, and take the pin, get claymored and eat the pin, and then Goldberg doesn't win the title, and then I don't know what the hell happened, what you do with Goldberg either. But it would also be a way to get the title off of Drew if The Miz enters the match and then gets speared and pinned by Goldberg, and then Goldberg is the champ. But I can't see Goldberg's big, bad babyface character accepting it that way. He's too goody two-shoes for that. So if he were to win it that way, I would think on Raw he would insist on a rematch or something like that with Drew, and I insist on giving you a real shot, and then maybe Goldberg escapes that, and then what? Goes into WrestleMania? No, man. So I'm hoping that The Miz here is used to do the match but not put the title on Goldberg. But, again, why are they doing this? Unless this is a way to set up Goldberg's WrestleMania opponent, if somebody interferes other than The Miz, gets involved and attacks Goldberg or something and sets up some sort of a match or a dream match of some kind at WrestleMania. I don't know who's out there to really take Goldberg on, in a dream match scenario at WrestleMania, but maybe that's possible. And we don't know how many matches Goldberg is contracted for. I really want this dude to fucking retire, but I kind of think he's got to face Roman Reigns too. So I think, Goldberg needs both of those matches under his belt, and he could be around for another year or two. So I don't know what to make of it. 5 years ago in 2016, when he returned to face Brock Lesnar, I thought he was way too old. That was 5 years ago. And here he is again. So I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that they're not yanking the belt off of Drew yet. Would like to see him at least go into Mania and do something there, retain, drop, I don't know what. According to reports, WWE's Mania main event matches are not set in stone, could still go anywhere at this point. Anybody could win the Rumble at this point, and based on the promo we would see later on in the show from Edge and the passion behind that, I would not be opposed at all to see an Edge win in the Royal Rumble. Set up Edge and McIntyre or something for the title. It'd be a weird match. Edge would take an ass whipping, but, you know, that could happen. Or you could put the title on The Miz on Sunday and then do Edge and Miz for the title. I mean, Edge would beat him easily and handily and win the title. Maybe that's, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Just all I know is if Goldberg spears Drew and pins him clean in the middle of the ring, I'm going to have a huge issue. So be warned, WWE. I'll be breathing fire, bitches. Before we get into what's next on Raw, I just want to say hello to Spaz, dropping in with $5. Appreciate that, man. I can't be the only one that misses wrestlers from fake places like Parts Unknown or Death Valley or the Bowery or Hell, right? They don't do that anymore? I thought there was somebody that had a fake place from the Bowery. Who the hell was from the Bowery? I forgot. Oh, it was a WCW person. I can't remember who the hell was from the Bowery. Not Kevin Sullivan. Not Mankind. I can't remember. Why can't I remember the Bowery? Or Hell, yeah. Thanks for the $5 as well, JJ Leg. So Goldberg wins the title and McIntyre wins the Rumble later in the night. No, I mean, I see that. I guess that would be all right, but is that what we want? Then we get what? McIntyre and Goldberg again at WrestleMania? WrestleMania, you should want to see. We already don't want to see this now. So, you know, you would think that if Goldberg wins and beats Drew McIntyre, then he wins the Royal Rumble, he's going to want to face Goldberg. He's not going to be like, well, he could want to face Roman. He says there's unfinished business there, but they might do that. They might do the rematch at WrestleMania between the two. If they've got nothing better planned, you know, and they're going to save The Rock and Roman Reigns for LA in 39, and they have no other... And they're not going to do like Roman and Bryan like we would like to see. Roman and Daniel Bryan would be great. Roman and Shinsuke would be great, something like that. If they're not going to do anything like that, you could have a situation where Goldberg beats McIntyre for the title, but all sorts of crazy shit happens. But Roman would have to interfere in that, though. You know, Roman would have to interfere in the Goldberg-McIntyre match and cost McIntyre the title. And then McIntyre would have to win the Rumble and go over there and challenge Roman. So I don't know, but otherwise, you know, you do McIntyre and Goldberg again at WrestleMania. That's not a pay-per-view selling match, in my opinion. And you know, you're going to have it's a 2-night event, so you know you should have 2 mega matches, title matches on both shows. And you could do Goldberg. Here's an idea. Oh no, that wouldn't work either. If you could somehow get Kevin Owens to Raw. Payback time, motherfucker. Kevin Owens versus Goldberg for the title at WrestleMania. Let me ask you, would a Goldberg title victory be worth it if it meant he would drop the belt to Kevin Owens at WrestleMania? Now, that would mean Kevin Owens is going to have to win the Royal Rumble, but he can't because he's facing Roman Reigns. So something would have to happen. He'd have to get over here somehow if there was a way to do that. So he can't win the Rumble unless he loses to Roman and then appears in the Rumble later and wins it and challenges Goldberg, who somehow escaped and won the title from Drew McIntyre earlier in the show. And now you got Owens and Goldberg, and Owens wins the title back at WrestleMania from Goldberg. Goldberg delivers the favor back to him just like he did for Brock at WrestleMania. I'd be cool with that. And then you do on the other side, you do Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. Rematch from Survivor Series. But I don't know who you put over in that situation. I'm still not ready for Roman to lose. And a wild card in this as well. You got to think about Brock. I think he could turn up in the Rumble. I have half a reason to predict him to win. I don't know why. He could just turn up and win the fucking Royal Rumble, and that would really set up a really interesting potential confrontation with Roman Reigns on SmackDown. Forget about Raw. Yeah, he might want to come back to Raw and get his belt back from McIntyre or something like that, but you know, he might be more interested in what the hell his manager is doing, advocating for one of his biggest rivals. So I think Brock could be tied into that as well, but all of those, you know, kind of work. We'll see. But I love questions like that because it gets me thinking about all sorts of random shit. And thanks for 5 more from Spaz. Jake DeMarco and I wrap up our highlight on the NXT Women's Division tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Toronto, Canada time. Cheers, Greg, and the chat. I think Toronto's East Coast, isn't it? Yeah, it's East Coast. East Coast of time. Adam Pearce can put Kevin Owens on Raw. That's true. He could. Let's ask Twitter that. I'm going to tweet that right now. Would a Goldberg title victory... Well, I better put Universal so we don't confuse people. No, wait. WWE title. Excuse me. WWE title victory. There we go. See what they think about that. There we go. We'll see if we get yeses or nos on that. There we go. Sorry, it took me a minute to type. All right, cool. We'll see what the Twitter land thinks of that. So anyway, I like those ideas. I like kind of brainstorming like that because it comes up with all sorts of different possibilities. And I just hope inside of a WWE creative meeting that these same type of ideas are flying around to where a bunch of people are like, ooh, I like that one. So it shouldn't be that hard. Yeah, Owens is a powerhouse on SmackDown right now, but if he does not beat Roman Reigns, what is he going to do after that if he's not really going to be in the title picture? And he did a great job in his feud with Roman Reigns. You feel like his stock should rise. So if Roman's going to move on to somebody else at WrestleMania, Kevin Owens doesn't really have a whole lot to do over there. And I would love the story of him getting that retribution on Goldberg, because didn't Goldberg beat him in like a minute and a half or something like that, super fast? So it would be cool if he got that moment back from him. Well, Brian Jarvis on Twitter says nothing is wrong with nothing is worth. Sorry, I was about to tear this guy apart. Never mind. I thought he said nothing is wrong with a Goldberg win over Drew. I'm like, excuse me? No, he said nothing is worth a Goldberg Drew over. Well, that's a closed-minded attitude. Nothing is worth it. Not even giving a great moment and a great title victory and a WrestleMania memory to a great talent that we all respect like Kevin Owens. Your hatred for Goldberg will cloud your judgment that much that you wouldn't even appreciate it. I could live with it. I can live with WWE putting the belt on anybody for a couple of months, just like I was able to live with it the last time he won. I'm like, well, as long as he passes that back to Brock, I'm fine with it. And, a lot of people really, especially the smart fans, did not like the way he squashed Kevin Owens like that. And Owens is a fighter. Owens is a badass. He's a tough bastard. He should be able to, and he should be worthy enough of avenging that loss. I'd love to see it. So anyway, we'll see. Next up on Raw, we had, this was fun, wasn't it? Don't you love WWE's matches that turn into a different match after commercial break? How many times per week do they have to do this? At least 2 or 3. Pretty sure we got it twice tonight. This was Charlotte taking on Shayna Baszler. So on paper, this match was pretty good. Charlotte and Shayna, a year ago, would have been a WrestleMania caliber match. I don't understand why, now it's just given away for bullshit on Raw, and it didn't even last long. Went about a minute and a half when Nia Jax interfered. Referee calls for the bell, so Charlotte, I guess, wins via disqualification, and then they continue to attack her after the bell. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke then hit the ring to make the save. Lacey Evans is out there, and everybody's brawling, and of course, you go to commercial, you know what's going to happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 women are out there. 6-person title match after the break. That's exactly what we got. And it was Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, and Charlotte taking on Lacey Evans, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler. A whole lot of blonde women in this match. A lot of them. But something was weird here. I was actually, during the match, I'm barely paying attention because why would you? And I'm making notes or something. And all of a sudden, I kind of hear the bell, but it's still not registering to me. And then I look over, and everybody's kind of confused and, they're raising the babyface's hands, and I missed it. So I took to Twitter. I'm like, hey, y'all, what was that finish? I totally missed it. And they're like, oh, it was some odd count out. Shayna got counted out. She got a neck break or something on the outside of the ring. She might have been really hurt. I don't know. Did not make it back into the ring in time, and the referee had no choice because he was counting to finish the count, and it looked all clunky. So they end the match. You go to commercial. You come back, and they've restarted the match. So it sounds like a botch there and an audible here, and it probably wasn't supposed to go that way. So it feels like a whole nother segment was planned here. This is like the third commercial break with this whole mess that's going on here. And then after we come back to commercial, we go for another few minutes, like a whole nother, long segment here. And in the end, Nia Jax, she throws, I guess, was it Dana Brooke? She threw her down with her little pickup power bomb type of thing that she does. Threw her down quite hard. And a lot of people thought that Dana Brooke might have gotten injured on that. And then she nails her with her big ass leg drop right after that for the win. And the heels win there. And then after the match, Charlotte and Asuka versus Nia and Shayna Baszler has been announced for the Royal Rumble. Even more confusing, the issue with what's going to go on in the main event with Asuka and Alexa Bliss and what the hell. So this solves the, is Asuka not going to be booked scenario for Raw because she's in the tag team title match now. But I feel like there should also be a women's title match. So anyway, I guess that solves it. The fact that she's the tag team champion makes it easier, to not have to worry about a women's title match on Raw or for the Royal Rumble. So I guess what they did tonight was fine, but that is official. They'll be putting the belts on the line, and I honestly kind of hope they drop them. I cannot stand Nia Jax with any belt around her, well, holding a belt. But I don't dislike Shayna Baszler, but their team together is just, it doesn't do a whole lot for me. But at the same time, I think Asuka and Charlotte are probably better off separate because they're two huge stars, and maybe they should just drop the belts here, maybe tease a little bit of dissension between Asuka and Charlotte, and then they can go on to, move towards WrestleMania. Now, Charlotte and all these women, except for Asuka, are doing double duty. So they're going to be in the Rumble as well, but I don't believe Asuka will be. So I guess my big fear of Asuka not being booked for the Rumble is settled because I have to remember she's the tag team fucking champion. So I guess we will not get a Raw Women's title match at the pay-per-view. We'll probably just get the Carmella and Sasha Banks one, which I think is weak. It's weak, especially if Carmella wins. She better not. So anyway, that's not the last we would see of Charlotte, by the way. She'd be busy later on with her daddy. We had an Ali promo that was pre-taped. We had after that, didn't listen to anything he said. And then after that, we had Xavier Woods taking on Bisquick in a one-on-one match. During the match, or after the match, Xavier is able to beat him, of course, because he's better. And right after the match, he immediately tries to get out of the ring to escape because he's on his own. No Kofi, no Big E, nothing like that. But T-Bar nails him with a clothesline, grabs him, starts beating his ass, throws him in the ring. All the members of Retribution hold him down while Ali goes and gets a chair, and he sits down in the ring and cuts a promo and calls Xavier Woods a peasant, and that he wants Xavier to deliver a message to Kofi Kingston for him, and says that he heard that he won't compete in the Rumble because Kofi's hurt, so Ali is going to take his place. So Ali is now in the Royal Rumble as well, and he made that announcement there. We then cut backstage to a pretty funny spot with Matt Riddle and R-Truth. R-Truth is sitting there, Riddle approaches him, and these two together, holy shit. And Truth says that he goes, the Hurt Business is throwing me a surprise party. And Riddle, in the most innocent voice ever, he goes, no way. How do you know? Like, all excited. This is a guy that's got a gauntlet match against these killers later on. But the sheer idea of a surprise party made him so happy and just gleaming with joy. No way. How do you know? And Truth says something like, they bought me 14 gold carats or something ridiculous. And he'll be making his presence known later on. After that, we go to the ring for the VIP lounge. And this is what R-Truth is mistaking for his surprise party. And the Hurt Business start putting over MVP, talking about how much they appreciate him, and they present him with this really nice golden necklace. It's so funny that I'm kind of only half watching, or whatever. I'm just kind of sort of paying attention, and Shelton says a few words, and they give him this gift and present him this gift, and he pulls out this big necklace, and it says THB on it, and I'm like, oh, I must have missed in the promo what THB stands for. I don't know. I'll have to ask on Twitter or whatever, or I'll think about it or whatever. And I sat there, I'm like, I wonder what THB stands for. Must be some inside thing between the two of them, or maybe it has something to do with MVP and his black belts or something. I wonder what it could be. No shit, y'all. Like 3 minutes went by of me trying to figure out what that meant, and then finally it dawned on me. And you guys know what it stands for. But the fact that it took me 3 minutes, feel free to unfollow me. That's ridiculous. The Hurt Business. THB. Very good, Greg. So I cracked up at that. And later on in the night, by the way, they've got a gauntlet match with Matt Riddle. He's got to take on all of them to earn an opportunity at the U.S. title. So they're doing their thing in the ring. Cedric is kind of acting out again. He's trying to take credit for, designing the necklace or some shit like that. And that's when R-Truth comes out and he's like, I'm here for my surprise. And, my birthday was last week, but that's okay. I still love parties. And It kind of reminded me of what they did on Dynamite when they had the big celebration for Adam Page to say yes to joining the Dark Order and everything. So he's out there and they kind of were like, what the hell are you doing here, man? You know, get the hell out of here. Stop playing his music. They're all pissed at him. And then finally, I think it's Lashley that gets on the mic. He's like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. This is your surprise party. Why don't you come in the ring? We're going to show you a present. Just kind of luring him in like he's a toddler. R-Truth is 50 years old. Looks 25, but he is 50. And he's trying to convince R-Truth to come in the ring. Luckily, R-Truth isn't dumb enough to get in there because he's then chased away by the Jobber Patrol that runs out there chasing after the 24/7 title. And there was a Tucker sighting in the Jobber conga line down there, and he lives. I was wondering what happened to him. I thought he was a janitor at a high school in Deershit, Iowa. But nope, he's still there in WWE, and maybe we'll see him on Main Event. Check your local listings. After that, was it Sheamus and Morrison? Is that what it was? Oh, no. What was going on backstage? That's what I missed. I actually had to ask you guys about this. After that, they cut backstage. R-Truth is asking Adam Pearce for something, but I didn't hear what it was. Maybe it was Rumble entrant or maybe a match or something like that. And that's when AJ shows up, starts talking smack, proposes a match, and Adam Pearce says, all right, Truth, you face AJ tonight. If you win, I'll take your request under consideration. I just don't know what that request was. Maybe you can tell me. Yeah, the Hollywood Blondes would be even better. I like that. It just cracked me up the way I'm sitting here trying to figure it out. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Greg? That's me. That's the dude you follow. That's the dude you watch. It's y'all's fault, not mine. You're the ones that watch me. By the way, since speaking of watching and nobody watching, can you hit the like button for me if you're here? Help a brother out. All right, so yeah, we had the Truth backstage thing with Adam Pearce after that, setting up the AJ match. And then after that, we had a one-on-one match with Sheamus and John Morrison. And Sheamus, I've been growing a bigger and bigger fan of his ring work every passing week. He's really kicking some ass right now. I mean, this guy is a veteran. He's 40 years old, and he is just having some kick-ass matches. He works well with a lot of people. He has great chemistry with, like, Riddle and stuff. He's had some good matches in the past few months on Raw. I really do think that, and I've never been a huge Sheamus fan. But he wound up beating John Morrison, of course, with the white noise. And they said on commentary, I was really surprised to hear this. This is the first match between these two guys in a decade. They have not wrestled one-on-one since last time Morrison was there. That's crazy. I know they've crossed paths in tags, right? Just in recent weeks. But first time they faced one-on-one, apparently, at least according to Tom Phillips on commentary. But here it goes again. They did this shit again, just like with the women's match earlier on. After Sheamus beats him, The Miz gets on the mic all pissed and demands that Sheamus accepts their challenge right then and there for a handicap match against both of them. You think you're so tough? Well, try to beat both of us. Like, what kind of logic is that? Like, what if that happened in the streets? What if you fight a guy, he beats the shit out of you, and then you're like, hey, I bet you can't beat me and my friend. Just, you don't look very tough. So anyway, as soon as he demands this match and challenges Sheamus, they cut to commercial. So you know what that means. We're going to come back from commercial. And this match is going to be taking place, and it was. So you got Sheamus taking on Miz and Morrison in a handicap match here, and I didn't think that Sheamus was going to win both of these matches. I figured Miz and Morrison would probably get revenge and beat him here or whatever, so I didn't really care and thought it was stupid, but I got to give big credit to Sheamus for changing my mind and making me interested in it. This guy was fighting his balls off. He looked like he was getting his ass kicked out there. He's just sweating, and he's all red and beat up, and his hair's messed up. I mean, Sheamus is killing it out there, and he's having good matches. Like I said, he did great with Morrison the match before, and now he's fighting his ass off here against both guys. And I really like the finish, a good finishing sequence here. It shows, it's got, I think, Miz is down in the ring. Sheamus is in the corner getting ready to nail him with the bro kick, but Morrison, who's on the outside of the ring, grabs a hold of Sheamus's leg. And then Miz comes up from behind Sheamus, grabs him for the skull-crushing finale, but Sheamus reverses it and reverses out of it, throwing Miz away. And Morrison then comes off the top rope for a kick, which Sheamus also ducks and then hits Morrison with a bro kick, but then by then, Miz has recovered and grabs Sheamus from behind and hits him with the skull-crushing finale for the win. So a really good sequence of moves there, and I love the finish, and I thought it was a well-booked, put-together match, even though it was, again, with this double-duty shit, just like we saw a couple of weeks ago when McIntyre was out. We had, upwards of 5 or 6 wrestlers that wrestled more than one match on one show. when you have 180 fucking wrestlers on your roster. So I don't know why they do that, but it was a big night for Sheamus. And even in the loss, even though he went one-on-one, I just I'm kind of team Sheamus right now. I'm liking him. He doesn't bore me right now. He's putting on good matches. He's working hard, and that's all I ask. After that, this is so crazy. So you cut backstage after this. Lacey Evans and Ric Flair are in the locker room, and Flair is like behind her. I don't know what he's trying to do or show her, but he's got his arms around her. It reminded me of, what's that creepy picture of that fucking creepy bastard that's got his arms around Becky Lynch? You know the one I'm talking about. Hey, if you're that dude and you're watching right now, fuck you, you weirdo. It kind of reminded me of that, but it also reminded me of the segment from 20 years ago where Triple H is like in the locker room with Trish, and he's got her bent over, showing her like an arm bar. And then he bends her right over, and then Stephanie walks right in. And then, so they kind of do the same thing here as Flair's got his hands all over Lacey. Charlotte walks in, and she's like, ugh. And she kind of just has a stare. She just had a match with Lacey in the ring a couple minutes ago. They kind of stare at each other. Lacey leaves, and Charlotte starts talking to her dad, and she says that he's gone from being a legend to an old man, and she's embarrassed about him. And she said earlier on, prior to her match as well, in an interview with Charlie, that it was hard to carry the name Flair sometimes because of everything her dad puts her through and how he was never there as a father. And they're just bringing a lot of this shit in. So it's not for me. I don't care about this at all, especially with, adding in Lacey. And she tells Flair that, she tells Rick that she's using him and all this kind of stuff. And that's when Lacey shows up from behind after she's already left the room. She comes in and nails Charlotte with the women's right. She goes down. Flair looks a little bit concerned, like he wants to try to help his daughter, but Lacey's kind of dragging him away, and that's that. So, again, I don't know what this is going to lead to. What I'm worried about, I don't know if this is 1998. Absolutely 100% next week on Raw, Lacey's coming out to the ring and saying she's pregnant, but I don't know if they're going to do that here or not, because there's just no way out of a pregnancy storyline if you're not really pregnant. So I'm hoping they don't do something really disgusting like that or whatever. And I hope they don't have to make out on camera. Poor Lacey. I don't know what's going on there, but the whole storyline doesn't interest me that much. But we'll see if it plays a role into anything. I mean, right now it looks like it's setting Charlotte up and keeping her busy with a feud with somebody else. So at least she's not in the immediate title hunt right now, because she's busy fucking around with Lacey Evans. They're not going to have time to have any pay-per-view matches, because I guess they could do it at Fastlane, I suppose. We might get Lacey and Charlotte at Fastlane or something, and then they'll both be in the chamber match, or maybe Lacey and Charlotte at Fastlane. To winner gets in the chamber, maybe. Flair on the outside of the ring, and he costs or something. I don't know. But at least it keeps Charlotte busy, and maybe, just maybe, she won't be in a title match at WrestleMania, although I still think she would or will be, and I still think would be nice to see her and Rhea Ripley go at it again. Didn't Flair already make out with Becky? He might have, did he? No, Beto, you're going to be Becky's second husband one day? Yeah, there's no doubt she's going to get tired of Seth, isn't? Yeah, she's going to get tired of him. I'm kidding. We wish the happy couple well. Saw a couple of pictures of her holding the kid. It's a cute kid. Becky looks good. She looks like she's already kind of getting ready to rock here. Hopefully we'll see her in 2021. Could see her at WrestleMania. Doubt it, but we might. At least make an appearance. Probably going to see Seth in the Rumble as well, I would assume. What did we have next? We had... Oh, yeah. AJ Styles taking on R-Truth. This was a very entertaining match. I love R-Truth. He is just an absolute national treasure. No matter how bad life gets, no matter how down in the dumps you are, no matter how many kicks in the balls life is delivering to you, you always have R-Truth. So just remember that, because he is just a joy. Motherfucker is 50 years old. Blows my mind. Pretty good match here with AJ Styles as well. Of course, he wound up getting beat. He submitted to the calf crusher, but fun to see R-Truth in that spot and working with AJ. That was all fun. Apparently, he didn't get what he wants there. I don't know if he's trying to get in the Rumble or whatever he's trying to do there, but it was not to be tonight. But he still is 24/7 champion, and that's all that matters. After that, we cut backstage inside one of those backstage rings, and they got Alexa's playground set up, and she's swinging on the swing, and she's talking to the empty swing again, and she's talking, and she says, "Did you see what we did to Randy Orton's face? And I think he looks better like that," and laughing and acting all fucking nuts, so that was great. And she referenced Asuka and said, last week Asuka didn't want to play nice and got all creepy and that shit. So nice setup there to your main event. for the Raw Women's title that will be taking place later on. After that, we had the Riddle versus the Hurt Business gauntlet match. Now, Riddle was going to have to take on everybody, I guess, except Bobby Lashley in this. And if he wins, he gets a shot at the U.S. title. But I did not gather whether or not that was at the Royal Rumble. I'm assuming it probably is, but I don't know if they made that known on TV. So if Riddle's opportunity is coming at the Rumble, let me know. One would assume it would be, but no idea for sure because I didn't catch that. But anyway, he's got to face Shelton Benjamin first. And I hate these gauntlet matches that are structured like this because normally in gauntlet matches, like it's a bunch of guys and then once you lose, somebody else comes out. It's not one guy versus everybody like it is here. So, you know, when you have a gauntlet match and you book Riddle against 3 guys, you know he's getting to the final guy. You wouldn't book a gauntlet match and then just have Shelton beat Riddle. I think it would be funny if they did that just to add to some realism. Just like with the Conor McGregor fight the other night. Yeah, you paid your $60, but you know, there's no creative writers here. So this thing isn't going to go 10 rounds and have some dramatic finish knockout. You know, it was going to be quick and you'd probably barely even notice it or whatever. So I think it would be funny if they did a gauntlet match where Riddle's got to beat them all, but he loses the first one. Oh, there you go. Match over. Next match. I just think that would be fun. Just randomly do it. But it wasn't a big, you know, to me, I didn't quite know who was going to win. I just knew that Riddle was going to get past the first 2 guys, which was Shelton and MVP. So he's facing Shelton. Shelton's actually got him down here and putting a good hurting on him. And this might be a fun little actual shoot wrestling match. I wouldn't mind seeing Riddle and Shelton. Both of these guys are legit. So Shelton's kind of got him down here, but Cedric fucks up again, makes all sorts of commotion or something on the outside of the ring because he's nuts. And it was enough to distract Shelton and allowed Riddle to, I think he rolls him up and pins him. And then everybody's mad at Cedric now. So MVP's getting in the ring and they're both giving shit to Cedric, and MVP's got his back turned. So the bell rings. So Riddle just comes right up behind MVP, locks him in a leg submission, and MVP taps out. So now MVP's out of the way. And now he's got to face Cedric as the final guy. And he winds up beating Cedric as well. Now that earns him a shot at the U.S. title. And as he's celebrating, Bobby Lashley comes out through their entranceway, attacks him from behind, puts the Hurt Lock on him, throws him like a rag doll all over the place, and that was that. So I'm assuming it's going to be Riddle Lashley for the title at the Royal Rumble, and as much as I'm a Riddle fan, I'm a bigger Lashley fan, so don't take the title off Lashley right now, especially I'm all for Riddle becoming a star. I'm all for Riddle holding title belts and stuff, but this stoner vibe from Riddle is just a little bit too silly, a little bit too laid back for me personally for him to be beating somebody like Lashley. If he's beating Sami Zayn for a title or Big E for a title or somebody like that, that's one thing. Somebody that's not, you know, just such a serious killer like Lashley is. And I really want to see Lashley have a good 2021, potentially winning world title gold. And I think just stopping his momentum here to Riddle isn't the right time. And whatever happens here, I want Lashley to continue to run with the title. But I'm nervous about that one. I feel like it's something they might give Riddle. After that, we got the big update. I was not aware this was happening. I didn't see it on social media earlier on in the day. Maybe I missed it, or maybe they just announced it on Raw. But during Raw, they were like, holy shit, guess what? Edge is going to give an update on his injury and his recovery right here tonight on Monday Night Raw. Stay tuned for that. And I'm like, oh, that's not going to be small news. Edge wouldn't just be on there and be like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm having a sandwich. Goodbye. He's going to announce his comeback. He's either going to announce his comeback or announce his comeback at the Royal Rumble. So we go to that next. It's in one of those dark, I don't know if that's at his house in his own private ring there that he works out in or wherever the hell he is. Dark ring, very dark setting. You could just see a faint glimpse of the white WWE ropes behind him. And he talks about how he went to bed as world champion after WrestleMania 27 and just a few days later find out that he had to relinquish the title that he never lost because he had to retire and all of that. And I think back to what I said to my mom when I wanted to become a wrestler, and she said, just go do it. And he said, I'm going to fight and claw and scratch with every fiber of my being. And I hereby announce that I'm entering this year's Royal Rumble and I'm going to win it. And I'm going to go to WrestleMania and I'm going to win back what I never lost. Very good promo. And it was a promo and his words were loud enough to where I think that might actually be a direction they go in. Would be cool, you know, unless they want to continue Edge and Randy Orton, but Randy Orton's got his fucking hands full and his face full right now, as a matter of fact, with Little Miss Bliss and The Fiend. So I don't know if there's really still time to put that Edge and Randy Orton third match or, you know, of the feud together in time for WrestleMania, or if you have them both go in different directions and meet back up later on down the road. I don't know. But it would be cool if you waited to do that and Edge maybe did win the title at WrestleMania. Maybe they want to give that moment to Edge like they gave it to The Rock. They gave it to The Rock? Why not give it to Edge? And he could win the Royal Rumble. He could go into WrestleMania to face the champion. But then again, I don't think, nobody has to win the Royal Rumble to get a title shot. I always say that because you do have 2 titles. So there's another way to get a title shot without the Rumble. So Edge could still do that, provided the Rumble winner challenges Roman. He could get in some other way to maybe face Drew. But the idea of him winning the Rumble, I'm not against. But I would also prefer like other guys winning it as well. It would be cool if he won the Rumble and then won the title, and then he can meet back up with Randy Orton after that, and they can finish off their run together. And this time there's a title on the line, much bigger stakes. But I don't know if I see a clear enough path for Edge to win the Rumble. I see a big path for Brock. Brock coming in to win the Rumble would create a very interesting scenario with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns, because you would assume he gets to choose, right, who he faces or whatever. So the world is going to be like, the eyes are on Brock. What does he do? Does he go and try to avenge last year's loss against Drew McIntyre, assuming Drew wins and retains the title, of course, over Goldberg? Or does he say, hey, Heyman, what up with that? Why are you with him? Maybe I'll come take his belt just to show you and remind you who your top client is. There's a story there either way for Brock. So even though fans are like, well, Brock winning the Rumble again, yeah, I know. But there's a story there, and that's what's important. And I think that would make a really interesting decision for Brock, and would make for some pretty fun TV. We'd have Brock on both shows trying to figure out, teasing, both guys or whatever. So I don't know. And like I said earlier, like I said in previous podcasts about Roman Reigns, I really need this Roman Reigns character to beat Brock as badly as Brock beat him back in the day. This is a whole new Roman now. So if you do a rematch of WrestleMania 34, only this time it's Brock laying in the pool of blood instead of Roman, that would really solidify his status as the tribal chief. But like I've said, and also with Brock, he just lost last year, so he'd have to come in. I can't see him coming in just to lose again. But if he wins the Royal Rumble, that would be a big deal for him, big comeback. All the fans would be freaking out that he's going to win the title. Everybody on social media, they're just going to put the belt on Brock again. This is what they're going to do. They're going to be saying that shit. So if he does that, just like we thought they were going to do that with Roman all those years ago. Roman's going to beat him. WrestleMania 34, he was 100% guaranteed to win, right? And then they swerved us and had Brock win instead, despite the 45 F5 kickouts. So they could do kind of a similar thing here that I really wouldn't mind seeing, just for the sake of Roman Reigns' character and who he is as a character now, for him to really get over this hump and put the only person that's really ever dominated him, aside from Braun Strowman, I think he's avenged that already by now as well. The only other person that's really had his number has been Brock, and arguably Strowman. He's exercised the Strowman demon, never really exercised the Brock one. The chair over the face SummerSlam pin was weird. Needs to be more definitive than that. So there is a door and a story there for Brock. I'm into the Brock idea. I'm into the Edge idea. I'm into the Daniel Bryan idea. WWE, those assholes owe us Daniel Bryan winning the Rumble. What they did to us and what they put us through in 2014 and 15, I will never forgive their asses for that shit. So giving the Rumble to Daniel Bryan would also be just peachy with me. So regardless of what they decide to do, I just hope it's not stupid. And with all 3 of those scenarios, Edge, Brock, Bryan, I'm fine with all of them. Like we laid out earlier, the idea of maybe Kevin Owens losing the last man standing match. He's going to be so beaten up, though. If he loses that last man standing match, I can't imagine him appearing in the Rumble and winning it. But it would be cool if Goldberg won the title and then Owens won the Rumble and says, hey, I'm coming to Raw. I'm going to take that thing away from you, just like you took it away from me, you asshole. Or maybe it doesn't even happen at WrestleMania. Maybe you get a Goldberg and Kevin Owens match in February like the first one was. I don't know. But that's what I like about Royal Rumble time, is there's usually lots of different pathways. It's just a matter of which one these monkeys decide to take when it becomes that time. Nope, people do not want to see Goldberg winning the title. See, I don't either, but there are scenarios where I can put psychotic, raging anger aside for a second and actually think. But I think that's a rare quality to have. Gaming in real time. Is that New Zealand currency? What's up, man? Greetings from all the way over there. It's probably like 3 days later on that side of the globe. Happy February to you. Do you think it will be the WWE or Universal Champ? I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe the Rumble winner? It just depends on who it is and who it... again, with that, doesn't need it. Nobody doesn't need it. I don't like that argument. I reject it here. Doesn't need it. What does that even mean? You're a wrestler. Your goal is to win the Rumble. He does need it. Everybody needs it. Yeah, I'm not again. I don't like the idea either that it always has to be some young new person to win the Rumble either. Sometimes that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just not like their time. Like I think the Women's Rumble could give us that. Maybe you get 1-1, you know, because I would love, especially I haven't watched it yet, but everybody's raving about the Bianca Belair Chronicle on the network. I would love Bianca to win the Royal Rumble. That would be great for me. I'd also like to see Bayley win it, but you know, it can work. It doesn't always have to be on somebody whose career could use the accolade or the, you know, the notch on their belt or the feather in their cap or something like that on the resume. It doesn't always have to be like that. That's not always the rule. Edge coming back and winning the Royal Rumble, getting himself a title shot, because otherwise, you know, how would you justify giving Edge a title shot on TV? If he wants to come back and try to avenge what happened to him 10 years ago when he had to forfeit the title and everything and try to get that back, you can't just be off and not on TV and haven't had a match in 8 years and then come back and say, I want a title shot. The Rock did it and some other people did it, but that might not, you know, the fans would be complaining about how that makes sense too. So there's a story there with Edge winning the Royal Rumble, his story back to the top, his story back to the title, taking his mom's advice and doing it again, putting it into practice in a main event. He absolutely does need it. You're wrong. Sorry about that. Anyway, Deshaun Robinson, thanks for the $2. Triple H said WWE and Brock hasn't talked in months. I heard that. I saw that Triple H really gave the runaround. He's very good at doing that and being in that role as a company executive that does nothing but blow fucking smoke up everyone's ass. He was asked about Brock Lesnar and John Cena, and he didn't answer either question, but talked for about 2 minutes on each subject, just dancing around. One thing I've learned about Brock Lesnar is Brock's going to do what he wants. So time will tell. We'll just have to wait and see. And the only one that really knows the answer to that question is Brock. Then he's asked about Cena. One thing I know about Cena is the hardest working person in the business. And, you know, one thing I know about Cena is that, you know, when he wants to be a part of something, he'll be, and he just didn't answer it. He just talked out of his ass, you know, and said absolutely nothing. And that was his answer to Brock Lesnar and John Cena's involvement in WrestleMania. Now, I have heard the same thing about Brock, that he hasn't really been around or kind of been out of the limelight right now, and he hasn't talked to WWE, and he might not have any interest coming back during COVID or anything, but it's WrestleMania. Regardless of fans being around or it being a weird experience or not, the paydays, I'm sure, are the same. So Brock ain't gonna. If Brock works Mania, it's not like he's making less. So if there's a $5 million payday to be had for him to come in here work a Mania match, win, lose, or draw, I think he would take that. So when you are in January and you're approaching the Royal Rumble and you're approaching WrestleMania, nobody is off the table. So even though we haven't heard from Brock in months, it's WrestleMania time. If he's coming back at any time, it would be weird for Brock to come back in May. You know, bring him back now when he can come in, and Brock's a businessman. You know, this is where he'd want to come, unless they hold him off until after Mania and push him and build him for a big SummerSlam match. That would also be okay. And I've laid out long-term scenarios before of like Bobby Lashley going on his long U.S. title run, not dropping the belt to anybody, carrying it through WrestleMania into the summer, and going into SummerSlam as United States champion to face the world champion, which might be a Brock Lesnar. Lashley, Brock, title for title. After Brock has dominated a little bit, wins the Royal Rumble, wins the title at WrestleMania, wins a couple of matches, because he can't just come back and lose every time he comes back. Then the losses don't mean anything. So give Brock a little bit of momentum, which would be tough to suffer through, but the payoff might be good if somebody like Lashley can get on the map and beat him. And that's a match we've always wanted to see. So like scenarios like that, I like. There's lots of different ways you can do it, and there are no rules. There are no rules. That's why I don't like that this person doesn't need the belt rule. Bullshit. Everybody needs it. After that was the main event, Asuka versus Alexa Bliss, WWE Raw Women's title on the line. This was scaring me a little bit, like I said, because I really thought, you know, Alexa Bliss has a chance to win the title, but I had mistakenly not seen that the tag team title match was booked. So in my head, I'm thinking, what the fuck do they do here? You know, because if Asuka retains, who the hell is she going to wrestle? She's not going to be booked on a pay-per-view with 30 women, but luckily she's now in the tag team title match, which is still a small role for her. And I would like to see Asuka do more. So I thought maybe here, if she dropped the belt, she'd do double duty or something. But we also had a pretty big feeling that we weren't going to go this whole entire show without seeing Randy Orton after we saw him last week. And he's got an axe to grind with Little Miss Bliss. So the match was weird. Early on in the match, as they're wrestling, you find, because this is all heavily edited, of course, you see Alexa on the rocking horse in the ring, and she's laughing and giggling. They then go to commercial. We come back. They wrestle some more. You hear the lights go out again. You hear the weird Alexa Bliss's old music hit for a brief second, and then she's seen just in the corner in like her old Alexa Bliss gear from like 4 or 5 years ago. Like when she first came in from NXT, and she's wearing that. She kind of looks very, very confused, very scared, doesn't seem to know what's going on. Asuka charges in after her. She moves. Asuka hits the turnbuckle. And then Alexa kind of goes to the other corner. She's kind of just like leaning there. Like she just doesn't know what's going on. Lights go out. They come back up. And that dark Alexa Bliss that we saw last week that put down Asuka and beat her is back. And I'm like, oh shit, she might actually win the title here. I'm going to have to change my thumbnail for a third time. And she's impervious to pain. She's sucking in she's just completely absorbing all the clotheslines from Asuka. And then Asuka even grabs her in the Asuka lock and tries to put her in that. But Alexa just literally claws her way, scrapes and tears her way out of the Asuka lock and winds up putting Asuka in the mandible claw. She's about to win the match and the title. And that's when a maskless, burnt up face Randy Orton appears behind Alexa Bliss, stalking her. She turns around and she eats an RKO. And that's it. So I don't know what the official ruling on that match was. I'm assuming Alexa Bliss lost via DQ, or won via DQ. Right? Asuka got disqualified for that, is I'm assuming what's going to happen there. And that was the end of the show. He RKO'd her and got his little bit of revenge, at least on Alexa Bliss. And she took it well. Everybody said she sold it like $1 million. So that's how the show went off the air. I kind of like the ending there. That's and on SmackDown, we had our first ever, our first intergender match in a while. It's so funny I just said that out loud, because on Saturday during the podcast, I actually don't remember talking about that match. I might have accidentally skipped it over. Anyway, we had an intergender match on SmackDown on Friday with the Reginald and Sasha Banks, and now we had Alexa Bliss eating an RKO tonight. So I thought it was a good ending. That's what the good parts of the show. I think the solid stuff was the Sheamus and Miz and Morrison handicap match, which was really good. Sheamus's overall performance tonight was great. The main event was very interesting, with Randy Orton hitting Alexa Bliss with the RKO and all the creepy shit they did with The Fiend. Loved to hear Edge coming back and announcing that he's declaring for the Royal Rumble. That's going to be great. R-Truth was fabulous as always. Good match with him and R-Truth. And I didn't totally hate the opening segment, because I thought it was very cool and very responsible of Drew McIntyre to come out and openly talk about his COVID symptoms and what he went through and all of that. Just, because for some reason, because we live in the dumbest country in the world, you have a very disturbing portion of the people that don't believe this is a thing and don't have to get vaccinated. My body, my choice. I'm not going to let them put any robots in me. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Just take the goddamn vaccine. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. Jesus Christ, so just take it. So I liked all of that. And with all those together, I've seen worse go-home shows. Sometimes in recent memory, we've seen a go-home show that's been so bad. Even the last couple of WrestleMania go-homes have seemed like they've sucked. I'm like, really? This is the best you can do? So this one wasn't great by any means at all, but it was better than some of them have been. So anyway, that's a wrap on Monday Night Raw. Orton could use some aloe, Deshaun. That's right, he could. Jesus. I haven't been sunburned in many, many years. I've always tanned really well and everything. But back when I lived in the Southeast, there were a couple times there where I usually don't wear a ton of sunscreen anyway, but I didn't put it on the right spots, and I got so burned, especially as a kid. Summertime, I'd be at the neighborhood pool all day with my friends, just out there for 10 hours with no sunscreen on. I'd come home looking like a lobster, rubbing aloe and stuff. There's not much pain that's worse than sunburns. There's just nothing you can do. You just have to sit there and just let it burn until it goes away, and it sucks. So luckily, that's all makeup on Randy Orton. Sunburn Randy Orton is better looking than most of us wrestling dorks, and not me. I'm better looking than not sunburned Randy Orton. Okay, that might be a stretch. Thoughts on, I don't know, Ryan, thoughts on Orton sunburn. He needs to use some SPF 50 or something like that. But I mean, it's not really like if that was a real burn from the fire and stuff, like he'd be all blistered and shit. He'd have skin peeling off of him. It still kind of looks the same. Like burns change. Like, you've ever had a burn? I work in restaurants, so I burn the shit out of myself in my life. So they change the way they look, as days go by. And his doesn't seem like he's changed at all. But yeah, Randy Orton's recovering. He'll slowly get better and recover from the horrible disfigurement caused to him by Alexa Bliss. And Orton is in the Royal Rumble, correct? Let's shoot over right now to WWE.com on the internet. on the interwebs and see what the Royal Rumble lineup is. There we go. Royal Rumble. They should announce the participants here. There we go. All right, so we've got McIntyre, Goldberg, of course, Owens, and Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns last man standing match. And then we also have the women's tag up as well. And I don't see the participants. Here we go. Here's the men's match. Here's the listing for the men. Yeah, Randy Orton's in it. Randy Orton, Edge, AJ Styles. Oh, it's written funny here on the network. They got a typo or something. It actually says AJ Styles, Intercontinental Champion, Big E. So I think that means AJ and Big E. So we got Randy Orton, Edge, AJ, Big E. And with Randy Orton and Edge in the ring, you'll have the confrontation there. You'll have during the Rumble at some point. It would be very cool if Orton was in there alone. If Orton starts tossing people out because he's just enraged. He's an enraged, burnt psychopath. And he's just kicking everybody's ass, going on like a Diesel or a Kane run, tossing everybody, or an Austin run, tossing people out one after the other. He's all by himself. 3, 2, 1, and out comes Edge. You get the big brawl between the two. Edge eliminates Randy Orton or something like that, and then maybe either goes on to win it or doesn't, but you'll get that confrontation between the two of them 100% in the Royal Rumble. We also have Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy. Bobby Lashley is announced, although he might be working with Riddle, unless they do that after the fact. Jey Uso, Cesaro, The Miz, John Morrison, Otis, Sami Zayn, Nakamura, Dolph Ziggler, and Mustafa Ali. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-ish, about half the field announced for the men. And let's see what they have to say about the women here. Women's lineup, as according to WWE anyway: Shayna Baszler, Alexa Bliss, Peyton Royce, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Charlotte, Nia Jax, Mandy, Dana, Tamina, Liv, and Ruby. Right on. Based on that list, I'd like to see Alexa Bliss win it, Bianca Belair, or Bayley. Those are pretty much my top 3 and only ones that I'll accept. Bianca Belair would be 1, Bayley would be 1A. Bayley would be fun to win it. And plus, it's an accolade that she deserves. You know, she deserves to win one. She's one of those originals, and she had one of the best years in the COVID era. 2020, along with Drew McIntyre, I felt like really belonged to her. You know, she was champ for all that time. So funny, so hilarious. Changed up her character so much. Became so entertaining. Was hilarious giving all her shit to Michael Cole. She sunk her teeth and went all in on that transformation. She had a great appearance on Broken Skull Sessions discussing a lot of that. And based on the year she had and how well she did, reward her with a Royal Rumble victory. So as much as I want to see Bianca Belair win it, I might even want to see Bayley win it more. But I love Bianca. Nothing personal, Bianca. You know how we feel about you here. Oh, thanks for a couple of the... thank you for that chat site for sending me the Rod McMahon link. Yeah, for those of you just tuning in, the brother of Vince McMahon has passed away, and Vince apparently was not at SmackDown the other week, and that is probably why, because apparently this brother passed away on the 20th, back last Wednesday. Let's see if I can find that yet. Yeah, no cause of death on that, but condolences for sure. There's a lot about Vince's family that we don't know, you know? So, Daniel. Get a wife and kids, Baldy? Yeah. Don Tony Esquire. I'll do my best. I'll work really hard at it, just for you. Thank you, Daniel, for the $5. Top 3 has to be either Bryan, Edge, or Nakamura, but leaning towards Daniel Bryan. DM23. Oh, that's right. That's you. Yeah, I like all those options too. I mean, with what's going on SmackDown, it makes you feel like they're making Bryan, Nakamura, and Cesaro a credible threat to maybe win the Royal Rumble. I just hope it's not all a tease to make you think that there's all sorts of these guys that could win it. Daniel Bryan, I would love. Nakamura's already won it, and, you know, it didn't go so well for him last time, so I don't need to see Nakamura win it because there's not that much intriguing there that he could go after. You know, he's already faced Roman, or I guess, no, he hasn't. But if he faced Roman, I don't know if I'm really into that or not. And he faced AJ a couple years ago, and then over on the Raw side, Nakamura and Drew, I don't know. Not sure if it's one I really need to see, but I wouldn't hate it if Nakamura won, but I think I'd prefer Daniel Bryan or even a Cesaro, even though I'm not very confident that they're going to do that. I'd be fine either way. Yeah, Jimmy Uso can make a surprise entry in the Rumble. I think Jimmy could potentially make his presence known in the Roman and Owens match as well. But hell, I mean, there might be a chance that Owens could take the belt from Roman. I'm just not that. I still don't feel it. I'm going to do my exact predictions on Saturday. So yeah, I doubt that was the real the Don Tony YouTuber. I don't think that was him. I go way back with him. He wouldn't tell me that. Plus, I'm better looking than him. So there's no way he would insult my looks. Thank you for that, Michael. Off topic, but my favorite memory of your stream is telling us how you almost died with the steak. Don't make me remember that memory. What made me think of that was when we heard the story about Dana Brooks' boyfriend. And I came dangerously close to cashing out. Only about 2 years into my YouTube run there. Very, very lucky. Chew your food, boys and girls. Cannot stress that enough. Yeah, Edge is a wild card, but you can also do, like there's a lot of these guys too, like Edge, you could set up his Mania opponent here, even if he's not challenging for the title. You can set that up here at the Royal Rumble, like we've seen so many times in previous Rumbles. We saw it in the last 2 watch-alongs too, with like Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels and shit like that. So we'll see. I don't know, but Edge, Edge getting there would be all right. I don't feel it, but for him to make such a big deal about being there and winning it and that sort of thing, makes you wonder. I'm just trying to envision a scenario, that would be best for Edge winning the title and everything. And like I said, it might be something WWE wants to give to him. And as a fan of Edge, I saw that guy work dark matches. I've seen him since the very beginning. I was in the live audience to watch him come out with no music and face a guy in a dark match prior to WWE or prior to Raw, or even on some house shows every now and then. And so for him to have that long career and retire the way he did and come back last year at that great moment at the Rumble, and then he got hurt, which sucked, but he still came back and showed that he can still go. Great performances against Randy Orton, even though people didn't totally like the WrestleMania match. It was a different WrestleMania. It was a COVID era. Once they did get back in the ring, Edge shows that he's still got the ability to bump around in there, and he's got a year or two in him. And I would love to see him come back and be on the top. Dude can cut a promo. Dude's great. He's still one of the best WWE's ever made and created, and I'd be all for it. And it'll be such a good moment for him too. That might be something that WWE wants to give to him personally, just a little closure. Especially after the way he ended it and everything. I know it's been a lot of years, but he forfeited the title. He forfeited the belt. He had to give it up. So he should get a crack at it again. And I think had he not gotten hurt, he would have gotten that probably already. They might have booked him for SummerSlam in a title match or something had he not gotten injured. So we might have already seen that, but I'd be fine with that. I like Edge. Was Curtis Axel ever eliminated from the Rumble? I don't know. That one year he didn't, right? I like Don Tony. This is not a Don Tony bashing place. That's just the name that asshole troll was using. We don't bash other YouTubers here on this channel. We privately laugh at them sometimes, but bashing him is a waste of time. That's what I noticed on Twitter too. I'm like, sometimes, I know sometimes you can't ignore a certain level of stupidity and you have to say something, but it cracks me up how much it bothers certain people on Twitter, like what other people like. And like every tweet is just criticizing about what some wrestling fan likes or doesn't like. I'm like, well, you just not worry about it? Like, what in the hell do you care? Like, it shouldn't matter at all. I don't understand why these dumbasses would like this, or like, it's not your job to understand it. It's not you. Like what you like. Shut up. Move on with your life. Seems extremely unhealthy to constantly worry and let it bother you that somebody likes something that you don't like. I don't give a shit. I don't like country music, but you can like it. I can attack you. You're a big ass waste of time. Ryan, I should have mentioned that. Thank you for that. The WWE Backstage is returning, I believe, this Saturday. Renee Paquette is going to be on there, and she's going to be hosting that thing again. But apparently on WWE Backstage, they are going to announce some Rumble picks. And I can't remember how it goes. They're announcing the first pick and the 30th pick or something. I think they're announcing like the first 2 picks for Royal Rumble men and then the 30th pick for the women. That might be reversed, something like that. So they're trying to give away surprises over there to get people to tune into that, I guess. I don't know what the panel or who the panel is going to be. I know it's Renee and maybe Booker. I don't think CM Punk's going to be on there, but he might. But apparently they are going to reveal some Rumble numbers on that, if you care, which I really don't. What year was it that Nia Jax was in the men's? Was that last year or the year before? She came out at like number 30. That was weird. Number 30 entrants haven't been the same since Rey Mysterio did it and was the biggest heel in the world. Ever since then, I haven't really cared. The best number 30 was probably guys like, John Cena when he came back and shit, but it feels like those days are gone. Thank you for that. 30 for the men's, 1 and 2 for women. Okay. Got to think about guys that are not listed for the Rumble right now. We ran through the names a minute ago, but a couple of guys that are not on there are Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. And I don't know what Braun Strowman's injury status is. I didn't think he was supposed to be out for that long, so stands to reason he could be back. Yeah, I think Undertaker will always be a part of WWE's family. I don't know if that would even qualify as him bashing them. I think he was honest with his opinions and stuff, and I didn't really agree with a whole lot of what he said. I never really expected that when Undertaker started talking and we'd see parts of his personality, there was going to be very little I agreed with. So none of that surprised me. That's why I didn't go so hard on the podcast on Saturday and ripping him apart. I was basically saying, I disagree with everything. I'm moving on. But WWE, he's given too much. People have said worse. A guy like Undertaker, he can't get blacklisted. Plus, if it gets bad enough, we've seen Vince calls him, when he made that booked that appearance on the Starcast, that freaked them out. Call Undertaker, get him in this office right now. So if it gets too much, they'll let him know. But Undertaker, he is WWE. It doesn't serve him any good either to burn that bridge after you were there 30 years. No. So I think he was just talking, and on Joe Rogan, you don't pull any punches. You just say, you fucking swear and smoke pot and drink beer and do whatever you want on that podcast. So it's a different environment. You can let things fly a little bit more liberally than you could on another podcast where, you might have some restrictions on you or what you should or should not say. I think people just let it fly when they're on that podcast. Very little can be held accountable, I think. It's like, hey, I said it on Joe Rogan. Who cares? Rollins has been at last 2 SmackDown tapings. Yeah, I guess they haven't used him yet. That's right. Nia Jax attacked R-Truth and took his spot. What a biatch. Can't do that to R-Truth. Jinder Mahal. That's right. He could be there. They did tape. I think I read the results. I honestly don't care about this. They're doing that Superstar Spectacle, and they've already taped it. Results are out. And it was a good showcase of a lot of the Indian talent and stuff. But a lot of these guys I don't know, other than the 2 big twins that we briefly saw in NXT. And Charlotte's teaming up with some girl. I don't know if Mansoor is on there or not. Drew, I think, is taking on somebody or teaming with somebody or whatever. So it was a nice showcase for them. But I watch enough wrestling, and I'm not watching this one. So if you want to see it, it's pre-taped, and it happens soon. But Jinder Mahal is also on that. And apparently he looks great, and he's ready to rock. So Jinder being in the Rumble, I think, is a guarantee. I know nobody likes Jinder and everything, but if I was Jinder, I'd be pissed if they didn't book me for the Rumble because he's been out for a while. He'll get a reaction and, an online reaction, but he'll get one, and I don't want them to leave Jinder out. They should put him in it. Undertaker versus Mark Calloway at WrestleMania. Yeah, Wesley, had Hogan and The Rock taken place years later, maybe 5 to 6 years later, it would have main evented. I think back in those days at WrestleMania 18, they were still under the impression that the title had to main event. That was the deal. They had only done it one other time, I believe, and a couple other times that was with Hogan, like a really big match with Sid, which was silly. But back in those days, that's what they were doing. They were doing WWE title matches in the middle of pay-per-views. They did the same thing at SummerSlam. They do it at Royal Rumbles. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam, all in 92. Not 92, the Rumble was for the title, but they would do that a lot. Title matches earlier on in the card. So if they had that mentality then, Hogan, looking back in retrospect, they should absolutely have main evented because Jericho and Triple H really suffered after that. But, hindsight's always 20/20. They would learn their lesson later on when they would do Rock and John Cena at WrestleMania 28, and that was the main event. And they did Taker and Shawn at 26. They probably should have done Flair and Shawn at 24 is the main event based on that match. I mean, that was good enough to be a main event. It was a good match. And Shawn killed himself for Flair. And it was such a cool send-off. Like, honestly, just like Hogan and Rock, Flair and Shawn should have main evented, I feel like. Yeah, and there's so much to speculate on here with all that stuff. Like Ryan is saying, it could be Drew versus Jinder as a random in-between pay-per-view match, give Drew an opponent to beat on his road to WrestleMania, or Drew could defend the title in the Elimination Chamber and have to survive that somehow, provided he's champion, of course. So there's things to think about there. What happened last year in the Chamber? Did the champ defend? I forgot how it works. Like usually the other one, like Shayna won it, and that got her the WrestleMania match with Becky, right? And what happened on the men's side last year? I don't even remember. I don't even remember. Remember nothing. Title match, I'm assuming. But if the men's Royal Rumble, for example, challenges Roman, how do you determine who Drew's challenger is? You could do it in the Chamber, or you could just do it on Raw. That would be interesting, Jimmy, if Rollins and Lynch won the Royal Rumble. I think Becky can't be back that quick. Little early. That kid just slid out of her like a few weeks ago. You got to give her at least until WrestleMania. Seth, maybe, but again, Seth going into the Royal Rumble for what? Facing Roman? Maybe, but we've seen that a million times, and Seth was not really, he didn't have a shit ton of momentum really on the roster last we saw him. So for him coming back and thrust into a title match there against either guy, McIntyre or Roman, I think that's way too many long-haired, bearded guys for me. I think that maybe Seth is an out. And I'm going to go no on Seth. Wilson Pena, will Miz cash in before WrestleMania? I'm hoping he cashes in at the Royal Rumble and and takes the pin for either guy, because I really don't want to see Goldberg beat Drew McIntyre. I really want to see McIntyre beat Goldberg, but I don't think that he is. I think WWE is going to protect him more. So if you have the Miz come out there and stick his nose in that, that might explain why they gave the briefcase back to him after he fucked it up the first time. Maybe it's so he can be in there and take the pin so Goldberg doesn't have to, or Drew doesn't have to. So I'm kind of hoping that happens. In a weird way, I'm actually glad Miz has that briefcase, because I'm telling you, man, after last year, what they did to the Fiend in Saudi Arabia, they do that shit again, I swear to God. And they do it to McIntyre this time. Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that now. Otis ran through the plexiglass. Why was Tucker and Otis in that? Was that a tag? Oh, tag titles. Okay. That's right. Oh, yeah. Did I hear about the rumor where, had Eddie still been alive, everything Rey Mysterio did leading up to Mania was supposed to be for Eddie? You mean winning the Royal Rumble and stuff? I heard that Eddie was supposed to win the title again, and I had my doubts on that, but it's since been confirmed by a lot of people. I just remember watching at that time where Eddie was on the card. I very much missed his run in 2004, but I felt like he just wasn't in the title hunt. I just wasn't feeling it. He was kind of doing the thing with Batista, where they were kind of getting along, but you could tell that Eddie was playing him, but then they never had a chance to follow through with it because he passed away. So I always heard that he was supposed to beat Batista for the title. I'm like, really? Like, they just launched Batista, and I would have loved to see that. It just, as a fan, I wasn't feeling like that's what they were going to do. But as years went on, people have kind of confirmed that, like, no, like, WWE's going to put the belt on Eddie. And I just felt like they forgot about Eddie by that point. I thought that he was never going to find his way back to the title again. Just like Benoit, who also wasn't really anywhere near or in contention around that time in late 05 for the title. So I never thought that was the deal. But to me, it always felt like them doing that with Mysterio was a tribute to Eddie. And they put all that, they decided to go in that direction because of Eddie's death. But if that was all meant for Eddie instead, and he was supposed to go in at number 1 and win the Rumble and all that, then, who would he face? He would have been the triple threat. Would have been Angle and Eddie and Orton or something. And then he would have won. Would have been cool. Yeah, Batista got injured. He would have to forfeit the title prior to 22, right? but he was champion during the Eddie stuff. I think he was champ when Eddie died, right? Because he did the tribute. He put the belt on the car and all that, I think. But I think it was after that. I can't remember when he got injured. Barry will know. Just ask him when Batista got injured. Still going Rollins and Lynch, man. Yeah, Deshaun. Well, that's what happened, kind of, right? You're not shot out. You kind of slide out. Jesus, you had a dream in 09 when Randy Orton was still cementing himself and Eddie would come out at the Rumble and say, "You thought I was dead?" Boy, that would be the ultimate swerve. I remember thinking I was in such like shock over the Owen Hart death. Like there was part of my mind that was saying it would be so crazy in 2 weeks if he came out on TV. And because I was thinking WWE was like, they wouldn't have, like, it was all in the news though, so you knew it was real, but WWE was just crazy enough to where they might try to legitimately try to fake someone's death and just bring, I think you can, that's a crime. You can't do that. But, you know, if they actually try to make it sound like somebody died and then and then they ushered him in a hood on Raw and brought him out on TV and he showed up right there on television and the whole world thought he was dead. You talk about making some waves. They'd be in all kinds of trouble for that. But I remember hoping, like, I'm hoping that this is some sick joke. I would have been pissed at Owen for involving himself and putting us through that pain and making us think he was dead. I probably would have never forgiven him, but at least he would have been alive, you know? So I'd take that. I'd rather be mad at Owen alive than loving Owen when he's dead, you know, as long as he was here. But I remember actually having that thought process. Maybe there's a snowball's chance in hell. Maybe there's a tiny percentage, minuscule chance that maybe WWE's fucking with us, but you knew they weren't. Adam Cole winning the Rumble. Cole versus Drew. Man, I think it would be a good match, but man, that is just such a mismatch. I mean, I love Adam Cole, and I don't like the people say he's too small, but there are certain opponents that he might be too small for. And it might be, even though that would be a good match, I couldn't imagine Adam Cole going in there and beating McIntyre for the title. Just doesn't feel, he's too small. Too small. Yeah, I mean, they could go back to that. I mean, you got to think about that too. Jimmy's right, but I mean, I don't know if that ship has sailed. We've had this long issue between Daniel Bryan and The Miz that goes back to 2011 or 10 or whatever it is. They've even had a WrestleMania match in recent history, right? Wasn't Miz involved in that with Daniel Bryan's return and Shane McMahon or something? So they've already had their run-ins and, you know, during different parts of their career, but it would be quite the full circle moment if this whole thing could climax at a big show for a championship. And if you actually have The Miz cash in and win that title, and then Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble, Bryan can be like, "I'm coming after you, son." And we can finally get that big Miz Daniel Bryan program. You know, the build and the promos will be good to that. I ain't against that. Ooh, Adam Cole and Rey Mysterio. If they can figure out a way to put that match together, I'd be all for it. Edge versus Roman Reigns. Yes, if Edge wins the title, that's his door. That's his path and avenue to Roman, because otherwise he's a Raw guy. He wouldn't be able to get over there otherwise. So he's got to win the Rumble. If they want to put Edge and Roman together, battle of the spears, he's going to have to win the Rumble. Undertaker was right. Why is a real man on that roster not making a move on dating Charlie Caruso or Mandy Rose? Probably because they all have girlfriends. Most of them are all in relationships. They're not dorks. Trust me, I've seen wrestlers in action. They do not have any trouble finding women and inserting themselves into them. It's not hard. They do it quite easily, with ease. I should win the Rumble. AEW wants Chad Gable. I want AEW to get Chad Gable. I want AEW to get everybody WWE's not using. Can you imagine just, you know, Chad Gable and Aleister Black, two people that WWE considers to be completely useless to them, could do wonders for AEW. I like Angel Garza. He's phenomenal in the ring, but I'm not into why he's giving a rose to everybody every week. Don't care. Stick the rose up your ass. Yeah, they've had run-ins in recent years. Beating him, Miz beat Bryan at SummerSlam and Hell in the Cell in 2018. So Bryan can get some big revenge here. Kane should have won the Rumble in 01. We just watched last night. We watched Royal Rumble 2002. How long did Kane last? He lasted like less than a minute. I was so pissed. Pyro comes out when we were watching that last night. I thought they misused a lot of big talent in the Rumble and should have kept him in there a little bit longer during certain points. But I was really disappointed in Kane, especially since he did so well the previous year. In 01, he eliminated like 11 guys and was in there for a half an hour or whatever it was. He had such a performance in that. Dominic in NXT would be fabulous. Part of me thinks, we talked about this on Saturday, I feel like they might be setting up for Dominic and Ray. I mean, this might be something Ray wants. Maybe Ray wants to have a match with his son on the grandest stage of them all. I would, if I'm still in ring shape and I can still move around and go the way Ray can, and I got a son that's in the business now, I'm sure Dusty and Dustin would have loved to have this opportunity, but they were never, I don't think Dusty was quite in tip-top enough shape to have a match with Dustin. I mean, I know they had a tag match and they were in the ring together a couple of times, but a high-profile match or something for championships or whatever would have been tough to pull off. But the way they've been doing the shit on SmackDown, kind of teasing, not really, that there might be some problems down the line with, Dominic wanting to do things on his own and, Ray and Dominic screwing up the week before and then Ray hanging back last week. It feels like they wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't going to lead to something. And when you think about the Hardy Boys, they got their big match. Matt and Jeff killed it in their 25 match, WrestleMania 25. That was a great match from what I remember. And I think for Dominic and Ray, if this is what they want to do, and they want to be able to say that we wrestled each other, and this will be a great, great closure for Ray, closing down his career probably here shortly in the next couple of years, and finally being out of the ring and being able to work with his son and do so much with him and for him on his way out the door. I would love to see some sort of a turn. We've done brother versus brother. Like, we haven't had that many real family members face each other. Kane and Undertaker don't count, but we've had Brett and Owen, we've had Vince and Shane, and we've had Matt and Jeff. Who else have we had that have been real, actual, legitimate siblings or family members having matches? I know we might have had some cousins, so I'm not talking about the cousins, but like big matches like that with family members, and this would be another one that they'd get to have. I kind of hope they do it. I think it would be a good match, and I don't know how crazy they'll get with the story. If Dominic's going to turn into a heel and he's going to attack his dad and he's going to be a shithead, or if they try to keep it simple. I think it's in WWE's best interest to keep it simple and not try to complicate it with a bunch of weird shit, because that's when it's going to get weird. But let these guys kind of do it how they want to do it and let them have the moment, and I'd be into that. You can make the argument that a big WrestleMania payday for Dominic might be too early, but you know what? That's the benefit and the perks of being in the business already. A lot of people, don't like that, but hey, if you grow up in the business and your dad's a wrestler and you've got that one foot in the door already, it's not Dominic's fault. All he can do is work hard. And as far as I'm concerned, and from what I can tell, and what we can all tell, he has. Ray said he's done after. Ray's going to go for 4 more years. I am surprised, but he's done after 50. Yeah, 50 should be it for Ray. Jimmy versus Jay. Did we get Jimmy versus Jay? I don't think we did. McMahon in every corner. Does that count? I don't know. There weren't family members in the ring facing, so maybe that counts. It kind of counts. Sort of counts. But we already, Vince and Shane wrestled the next year, one-on-one, so you can toss out the 16 match. That's a good question, Beetle. I kind of forgot about that. Where has the rest of the family been? We have not seen Ray and Aaliyah, and maybe they've been busy. We don't want to think about that, and I'm sure Rey Mysterio does not want to think about that either. Yeah, Vince and Stephanie. I was thinking more WrestleMania, but yeah, and if you're talking about all pay-per-views, then you definitely have Vince and Stephanie. You've probably had some other. You've probably had Stephanie versus Shane somehow. I know we've had some Triple H and Vince matches, Triple H and Shane matches, I'm sure. Chavo and Eddie. Yeah, Chavo and Eddie. Did they work Mania together? No. They wouldn't have worked Mania. They would have had to work at 19, which they probably did as Los Guerreros, but not against each other. Blue Meanie versus Hurricane. Ha ha. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Murphy is. Y'all's guess is as good as mine on that one. I'm not really sure. Could be anywhere. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for my review and my notes tonight. I was going to pretty much be done here at the top of the hour, so if anybody has any last-minute questions for me, you're welcome to hit me. Don't forget that it's going to be a big week on the channel because I have got a classic pay-per-view review, or I'm sorry, classic show review that's dropping on Wednesday, the Draft Lottery Monday Night Raw show from 2004. Really fun show. That will be hitting the channel, and then this coming Saturday we'll be up here live at about 7 p.m. Eastern time for Royal Rumble predictions. And then on Sunday for the Royal Rumble, I'll be right here reacting to the pay-per-view. So we're going to watch it together, drink some beer, hang out. It should be a very, very, very fun Sunday afternoon this week for the Royal Rumble. I'm excited for it. I'm excited and nervous. Very nervous for Drew McIntyre. Very nervous about this whole Goldberg situation. But if it weren't for that, I'd be really excited for the show because Royal Rumbles are usually pretty unpredictable and we don't know what the hell is going to happen and we don't have any idea what kind of direction they're heading in for WrestleMania until we see this pay-per-view. So it should be fun to hang out and do this together. So I think that's going to wrap it up for me for this evening. And you guys have a good night. Good to see you in here as well, Nick. Welcome. Unfortunately, I'm leaving. And thanks for being here tonight. And I will catch you guys Wednesday and then again on Saturday as we kick off the Royal Rumble weekend. You guys have a great rest of your Monday night, and I'll talk to you real soon. Be good.